Hey everyone, welcome to 744 Ostrom for the post-game version of On the Beat, wrapping up Syracuse versus Louisville. We'll get right into it with my fellow beat writer Andrew John and LoGiurato. And first thing we want to talk about from this game, to take away from this game against Louisville, is kind of the two drives that Louisville had against the SU defense that kind of changed the game around, I guess, in the second half. This was a SU defense that gave up 106 total yards in the first half, and in two drives alone, Louisville gained 150 yards. There was the first drive, the 60-yard drive that gave them the lead, and then there was the 90-yard drive on 12 plays that kind of sealed the deal there. Andrew, what did you see? From a defense that had dominated its past two opponents, what did you see that was different? What went wrong in those two drives?
We talked about this at the game that it seemed like Louisville was just dominating the line of scrimmage, actually on both sides of the ball. And I think that's something that Doug Marone talked about after the game. He talked about how this is a veteran offensive line that Louisville had. So they really knew their game plan, and they knew that they wanted to keep pounding the ball. Even though their starting running back, Boyle Powell, was out with an injury, they were able to control the line of scrimmage and move the ball on the ground. And I think that's something that some of these other teams had not been able to do previously.
And another thing to take away from those two drives as well, especially on the last drive, that methodical 12-play, 90-yard march down the field. Really, two third down conversions, one fourth down conversion. These are plays, key situations that the SU defense had been holding its opponents in the past 2 weeks, and even throughout the season. But Saturday it wasn't the case, and that led to the two game-changing drives for Louisville. On that note, missed opportunities for the defense on a lot of those on those two drives, and missed opportunities as a whole for SU. You know, Missed opportunities, penalties. What did you see, Andrew, in that sense?
And I think like you said, defensively and offensively, there were opportunities there that the Syracuse just wasn't able to capitalize on. I know a couple that come to mind were, late in the fourth quarter when Louisville decided to go for it on 4th and 1, and Syracuse wasn't able to make the stop, and that stop would have put them in prime field position for their offense to get back into the game. And obviously offensively, they had some missed tackles on defense, but on offense they had those drop passes that could have been touchdowns, and a few penalties on some big gains that I'm sure they would have really loved to have back.
Yeah, you mentioned Alec Lemon's drop pass. He said he took his eyes off it. No one on the offense or on the team as a whole would admit it, but the Syracuse offense really never got back in the groove after that. It was a bunch of 5-play drives and 3-and-outs. But segueing from that, just as a whole, was a missed opportunity for a bowl bid, and there was no celebration for SU after the game. It was just a celebration for Louisville, which won its first Big East game on the road since 2007. So, Andrew, how surprised are you at the Louisville win, and how much of a missed opportunity for a celebration was this for SU?
Well, I think that at the beginning of the season, a lot of people saw Louisville as an easy victory for Syracuse, and some of these other victories that Syracuse has had so far this year as ones that would be tough to come by. Obviously, the tables were turned a little bit. I think that Louisville came in despite the key injuries they had on offense, and they've obviously been a much improved team. But I think that Syracuse really did miss an opportunity here. Now that this puts them in a tough position where, they still have 3 more games left to win one game and become bowl eligible, but puts them in a situation now where they have to travel on the road and win at Rutgers. And then they obviously have the final 2 games against Connecticut and Boston College. But if they don't win this week against Rutgers, then that game coming home against Connecticut in 2 weeks is going to be really a tough game, because there's going to be a lot of tension in the air and a lot of pressure on this team to get that win.
Yeah, I mean it's kind of crazy how the SU season has taken shape. From not much expectation to, expectation of now finishing second in the Big East and going to Orlando for the Champ Sports Bowl. And I think everyone expected SU, or most people expected SU to win this game this week. And now you look at a Rutgers team on the road. It's not going to be an easy win. And even though SU has suddenly become the Big East Road Warriors, and if you lose that, you can drop to fourth in the conference, and then you're 6-4, and the worries start to come out. Then you come back home against Connecticut, not having won a Big East game, and then you face a tough FBS opponent in Boston College from a BCS conference. So it's not going to be smooth sailing for SU from here on out. But that'll do it for this version of On the Beat. Signing off from 744 Ostrom. But be sure to check back today for full coverage from this weekend's game against Louisville. And be sure to check back in the Daily Orange all week for all your coverage leading up to SU's game next Saturday against Rutgers. Again, for Andrew John, signing off from 744 Ostrom.